Hey guys, my name is Ethan, this is Carberra. Welcome to the series where I teach you how to build a Discord.pub for your server. Today we're going to be making some reaction polls, so continuing on from the reaction stuff that we've been doing the last few videos. So if we come into our lib cogs and then reactions.py to our reaction code, we'll have all the stuff that we've done for the starboards last episode and our color reactions the episode prior. But this time we're actually going to be making some commands. We did actually need the commands line here after all. So from Discord, might as well just copy and paste the damn thing. Copy and paste, and then command, because we need command. And then we has permissions to, just to make sure that the user is, that's actually creating the poll has some administrative rights, I suppose, or enough rights. So we come down here and we're going to make a command to actually create the poll. So we're going to have command name equals create poll, or we can have aliases make poll, I guess, and then we do has permissions. Manage server is probably a good one to check for, or manage guild. Equals true, and then we do async. Oh goodness, async def create poll. Now this is going to take a number of different options. So first we're going to take stuff, of course, and we're going to take CTX, obviously. Then we're going to take the question itself. Then we're going to take a list of answers or a list of options. What this is going to do is essentially we'll pass the question in, so the poll kind of context. Due to the way this works, this will have to be in quotes. There are other ways of doing it that prevent users from doing it in quotes, but ultimately this is the quickest and simplest way. If you know to do it in quotes, then this is the easiest way to do it. And then a list of options is just a space delimited list. So for example, it would look something like make poll, well, that's actually the wrong prefix. Make poll, what is your favorite color? And then so red, blue, green. So this is the sort of syntax that we're going for here. So again, not particularly the most user friendly, but in a single server setup where you know what you're doing, this works perfectly fine. And so yes, so now we come down here and we create our message. Now we're going to create, I guess we're going to create an embed because it looks a little bit prettier. So we're going to do embed equals embed, title equals, I guess we could do maybe the title to be the question, I don't know. We'll just do poll, I guess, and then we'll have the description as the question, see how that looks. Description equals question, color equals ctx.author.color, and then time stamp equals datetime.utc now. So now we need to define the fields that we could use. So this is going to be a bit interesting because we're just going to use a single field. We still need to define our fields. Well, we probably don't necessarily need to define it as such, but for consistency's sake I'm just going to. So we have options, and then in our that's the name of our field, and then in the values we need to do a new line character, and then we need to join this with a list of things. Now we also need to do another string that's going to take two options, and then for index in len options. Cool. So we're going through a list and getting an index of each one, and we're going to have our numbers index, which we'll create in a second, and our options index. And then we need to set this as false. Okay. So what we're doing here is we're accessing a list of numbers which we're going to create in a second, which essentially holds all the number emojis that we're going to need. And then we have our options index, which is essentially our list of options that we're passing in, and it's essentially like a mapping emoji to option. So we need to do for name value inline in fields, and I'm doing it this way just in case you do want to add another field. So if you want to add like instructions, you could. So instructions react to cast a vote like so, and then false, and that'll just work. So we can do embed.add field name equals name, value equals value, inline equals inline. And then we have our fields. So the actual numbers themselves we're going to define up here, just so we don't have to redefine it every single time. And we're going to have it as a dictionary, and we need to actually get the emojis. So getting the emojis is not as simple as it seems, because if you just do so they are 1, so you have like 1 and then 2, so they're actually numbered, which is why we need to do it this way. However, if you do it like that, the backslash will not work. It will just not return a Unicode character, because although it is a Unicode character, it sort of doesn't really work that way. It's a bit weird. So there is a specific character that you actually need to get for the numbers 1 to 9. And I will quickly grab that for you. Okay, so I've grabbed all the numbers here, and they do look really quite bizarre. I did actually have this problem before when I was building a bot that used these numbers too. Essentially, you have to use these kind of weird characters. This is actually 2 characters combined into 1. So if I was to do a backspace right now, you see it turns into a standard 9. However, when this extra character is there, this functions as a single character. So it's kind of weird to show you what this box character is. If you want to copy and paste these numbers for yourself, then they will be in the GitHub repository in this file. I'll just leave them here in this comment, so you can just copy and paste the list of them easily without having to copy and paste every single one. But yeah, it's really quite odd. Also, I just realised I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing making this a dictionary. This needs to be a list. So it's just a list essentially of all of these. So we can actually copy and paste this in here. Oh, it doesn't even need to be a list. It can just be a string, and then do that, and then we just get rid of all the spaces, and it looks even more messed up. Look at that. This will I'm pretty sure that would genuinely work, because it would just iterate through every single character in the string as though it's a character array. So that works for us. So if we come down here to where it is, I actually forget. It's here. There we go. So for every index, that sounded Australian. I don't know why. We will get the index and then we'll put the number in there. So we do actually want to start ideally with 1 though, not 0. And then we do actually also have a 10, but it works differently. So you have this keycap 10, and then this actually has an emote of its own. So we can just copy and paste that. I don't know if this is a box. No, it doesn't. It's just its own thing. But the 1 to 9 isn't. I don't know why. So with this system you can have up to 10. Of course there are other ways you can do it. So you can have different emojis, you can have different numbers. We're just going to limit it to 10 options. So we could potentially put a if len options is greater than 10 and await ctx.send. You can only supply a maximum of 10 options. Again, there are other ways of doing that, but I'll leave those for you to work out in your own time. So now we should have a decent enough poll. We're not going to add any reactions to it yet. We're just going to send the message to make sure that it looks correct. Because at this stage it probably doesn't, and I'll probably mess something up. Make poll. This is a test, and then 1, 2, 3, and then pineapple, and then see if it works. No, int is not an iterable object. Oh right, okay. Yeah, it would be range then options, I suppose. No, it could be like enumerate options. No, there's actually a better way of doing that. We can do enumerate options, and then we can just do for index option, and then instead of doing this, we just have the option and then numbers index. That'll work. I always forget enumerate is a thing until it's a bit too late. So if we just copy and paste this now and try and make the same poll as we did before. I don't know what happened. What in the world? Hang on. We tried doing something a little bit less weird. There we go. Well, apparently these numbers just aren't working. Why are they randomly not working? They should be working. Let me just make sure. Unless this is treating it as some weird. It's probably treating it as. Yeah, that does work. Okay, I think it's the way it's actually being treated. So I'm going to reformat this list just to make it a bit easier for the program to understand. Okay, so what I think was happening was because these are two characters, it was getting confused about which character to actually display. So now we are displaying the whole thing. It should work a lot better now. Is the idea anyway. Whether or not that actually happens, I don't know. But we'll see. There we go. So it actually works okay now. That's a case of it. There's a typo there as well. But as you can see, you have the poll. We have the name of the poll. Perhaps this would be better as the title. I don't know. We have our options, and then we have a selectable thing. So now what we need to do is we need to fix our little typo because that's going to annoy me. And we need to actually add the reactions. So we can do actually to save the message here. Message equals await ctx.send. Now return the message. For emoji in numbers up to len options should work. Await message.add reaction emoji. And that should, in theory, add the correct things. We'll see. So it should add 4. It does add 4. Fantastic. So we have 4 things, 4 options. If we were to have, say, 5 and an apple, so if you had 6 options, it would now react 6 times. These are what users will use, or what members will use to cast their votes. So after we've added to our list of polls, we're going to come down here into our on-roll reaction add. We come all the way to the end, and we're going to line up with this line here, and we're going to put an else statement there. And what we're going to do in Sublime is we're actually going to collapse this elif because we don't need it. It's more useful to have this other one. So we have an else, and then we iterate through. So for message in self.polls, if payload.message ID equals message.id, and we can break, and then we put stuff in the middle of that. So if the message that the user reacted to is the poll message, then we need to do all this stuff. So we can do for reaction in message dot reactions, if member I just need to check if reaction.users is a user. Actually, I think user and member will line up with each other. I think they're double equals. So if member in reaction.users and reaction.emoji does not equal payload.emoji, and I hope that works, then we can do await message dot remove reaction reaction.emoji member. So this will go through and it will actually delete all of the other reactions made by that member. In theory, I'm pretty sure it works like that. In theory, that should actually work as it is. So we're gonna test that. We're gonna make our pineapple, apple. I did not even mean to make that a reference. Holy crap! So we do 4, and then it hasn't done anything. Okay, so if we do 2, that also hasn't done anything. Fantastic. Alright, let me check to see why that's not working. Okay, so after an embarrassingly long time, I have managed to come up with a solution to this. Essentially, what I was trying to do was I was trying to subvert the need to go and fetch the message from the channel completely. I thought I could append the message into here and then just use that message object to get the reactions, to count them up, and then do a thing. But that just did not work. For some reason, this message object in the polls list, regardless of whether I added it after all the reactions added or not, just it did not understand that the message had reactions for some reason. So we do need to fetch it every single time, which is annoying. But it is something we can do. So I do have a really botched solution over on the other screen that I'm going to try and optimize somewhat. So what we're going to do instead, we're not going to append by the actual full message. I will also say that I did want to leave that original thing in there just so if people ask, oh, why didn't you do it this way? That's the reason, because this API sucks. So we're just going to do it the way I was actually originally going to do it, which is append the message channel ID and the message ID, because these are the only two things we need to actually get the message later. So we can then go down here and do an elif payload.message ID in, so you've got tuple, say to be poll 1 for poll in self.polls. So this basically reasons for us to grab the message every single reaction. It only grabs the message if it needs to. So we can just do this. So if that's true, if we are dealing with a poll message, we do need to grab that message. So after that, we need to go through our message reactions. So we can simply do that with for reaction in message.reactions. And then we just need to do a few more checks beyond that. So if not payload.member.bot, this basically stops the bot from removing its own reactions, which is a problem I was having while I was trying to work this out. And payload.member in await reaction.users.flatten, because getting the users or getting a list of users from a reaction is an awaitable call. You would normally use an async for, however, because we just want a list, we can flatten a list and do an await. And we also need to check, we actually could split this over multiple lines. So if not payload.member.bot and payload.member in Emojis ID and reaction.emoji does not equal payload.emoji.name. So if all of those things are true, come over a line, and then we await message.remove reaction reaction.emoji. Now in theory we could probably break after this, because they're only ever going to have one. However, I'm not going to do that just to be safer, because this is quite slow to do this, which is why I suggested not doing this before. If you're doing this in a multi-server bot, you want to do something else as well. You potentially want to do something like this with some more persistent storage. However, if you want to know more about that, you can actually just come over to here and kind of re-implement the color role assignments with storing the data. But that should in theory work. You'll be able to see just how many tests I did. This took a while to work out because the API was just not being on my side. I have absolutely no idea why it wasn't working before, and just watch this not work properly. But if you say vote, oh no, 2 is whatever the answer to this is, and I was like, oh no, I want to change it to 5 instead. It goes through and there's an error because we have accidentally put member in somewhere. We should have put payload.member, haven't we? Oh, we never actually passed the member at all. That is something we need to do. I'm actually losing my mind. I've been working on this. I thought this would be a simple one to record, but no, I totally have not spent 56 minutes recording this video already. The fun of the API. So if we do that now, it will get rid of our number 4 reaction eventually. As you can see, it does take quite a long time, even if it doesn't. Even if you haven't reacted to that, the check still takes forever. So if you do 2, it will take a while to get to 6. There we go. But we still only have one thing. So if you do 1, 4, 5, and 6, it will eventually just resolve itself into 6. I know it will get rid of all of them. Fair enough. And yeah, so if you do 2 at once, it gets a bit confused. But as long as you don't do it too fast. I mean, if they do it too fast, they can't submit duplicate votes. So it at least protects against that. So it would just completely wipe the votes clean because it's doing all the checks at once, which is another reason why you shouldn't have it in a multi-server bot, or at least this implementation. But as you can see, we just have one option now. So after all that, we still need to check the number of reactions at the end. So we've used AP Scheduler many times before, and this we use it to auto-save our database. We use it to send the rules reminder message that we did earlier as well. And now we're going to use a slightly different implementation of it to actually announce the poll winner. Now again, this won't work properly if the bot shuts down, but that is again something you could extend out. And ideally, if you're doing this in a multi-server bot anyway, you would already have the implementations to actually deal with this just to get it to work. So what we can do here is we can do self.bot.scheduler add a job, and we're just going to add the job. So we are going to define this as, say, or complete poll, I guess. We'll create a function for that. We'll set the trigger to be date, and then we'll set the run date to be equals datetime.utc now times by, oh no, you probably actually want to have a number of hours here, come to think of it. So you have say hours. Now again, I say hours, you probably want to do the type hints for this too. I say hours. I'm going to use an implementation that works with seconds. Please convert this to hours in your code. With the mute command, I had a number of people not convert it to hours despite me telling them to in the video. So actually remember to convert it to hours, please. But we actually need to do time delta. Or you can do it in days as well. Your unit of choice is your choice, but I would use hours, so I'm just doing hours, but we're going to do seconds. So hours equals, no, we actually want to do seconds equals hours, and then if you want to convert it to hours, do times 3600, but I'm not going to do that for testing. And then we also, I'm actually going to move, no, we're going to have this bit in the new line. We also need to pass in the args, which is going to be the message. So we're going to have our message get passed into this function. Now we're going to do this function down here. So async def complete poll self ctx message, and this will just complete the poll. Actually, we should probably just do message.id because we're going to need to fetch the message again because the API sucks. So if we come down here and we just do this, you know what we do need to do? We actually need to pass the channel ID as well because we need the channel. I actually have no idea why the reactions don't register. It's so weird. What has happened there? I guess it's just one of the quirks of this weird and wonderful API. So we don't need payload channel, we just need channel ID and message ID here. So to actually get the option with the most votes, we can do most voted equals max message dot reactions key equals lambda r dot count. And our count is just, I'm just going to check that's not an asynchronous thing, because knowing the API it probably is. No, it's not. That actually will just work like that. So r dot count essentially returns back the number of reactions, or the number of times that reaction has been had. So we can just do r count minus 1. Actually, it doesn't matter. Actually, it does matter because obviously, but no, we'll work that out later because the bot, of course, will always have a reaction on all of them, so we can work that out later. I was just trying to do it for Mr. Purpose. We can do that. So we have our most voted for reaction. So we can actually come down here and simply just put await ctx dot send. Whoops. The results are in result and option 4, or what, I don't know why I said option 4, I just had an example in my head, I suppose. Option most voted dot emoji dot name, I guess. That would probably work. I am actually not sure. I'm going to presume that works. Was the most popular, I don't know, with banner votes, and we're going to have most voted dot count minus 1, and then we're going to put a little bit of formatting to 1000 separate it. So that should in theory work. Not context. What are we doing with context? Message. We need to do message.channel.send. There we go. Okay, so if we run this now, so we have our make poll. We just copy this, and then we set that for 15 seconds. Complete poll is not defined. It's self.complete poll, isn't it? It's looking for. Yeah, it's obviously self.complete poll it's looking for. Okay, so I just thought as well, we actually want datetime.now, not datetime.utc now. And while we're at correcting things here, I just realised as well we need to do that there. We don't need .name on it because it will automatically put the emoji in. So we don't actually need the name. I was thinking, oh, we need to get the 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we just need the emoji. We don't even need the name of the option. We just need the emoji. So as you can see, we've scheduled our poll to end in 15 hours, quote unquote, time. And now we just need to wait for the poll to actually end. There we go. The results are in, and option 5 was the most popular with 1 vote. So we have our poll, we have the options, and then we have the option 5, which won because obviously we did it here. And then one final thing that we need to do is we need to tell the bot that that message is no longer one of the polls. So we need to remove channel message.channel.id message.id. So if we run it one more time for simple sake, so if we make a poll for 10 seconds, what is the number 3? I don't know. And then we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is kind of a stupid poll, whatever. And then we're out with 3 because we're obviously correct. We should. Bang! The results are in. Option 3 is the most popular 1 vote. And if we continue reacting, it won't actually bother removing our previous reaction because our poll is no longer in the list. So that is a somewhat simple approach to doing polls. There are certainly better implementations you can do but this is just a simple one to get used to reactions and stuff. You can also use previous knowledge from other videos to make a more functional system than this. So, well, this system is functional, but a more advanced system than this. But these are just the basics. So that brings us to the end. If you like the video, then say hello down below. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below as well, or you can join the Discord server using the link in the description. If you really like the video, then consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads. And if you really like the video, then consider supporting me on Patreon. Of course, you don't have to, but it would be a really cool thing of you to do. With that in mind, I would like to thank my super patrons Adam, Dre, and Jackster for pledging the highest tier. And I will see you next time where we create an XP experience system, and there'll be quite a few. It's 4 videos for the whole experience system, so make sure you stick around for all 4. But yeah, I'll see you then.